Good evening, and thank you for joining us today on this rainy day. For today's episode, we are going to learn how to make homemade sugar cookies. Now, I have been told these sugar cookies remind people of shortbread cookies, and that they are the best at our farmer's market that I set up at. So to get started, we're going to go over our basic utensils that we will need. You will need a 1 cup, half cup, well, let's just set those the right way, 1/4 cup, a 1 teaspoon, and a half teaspoon. You will also need a bowl to mix your ingredients in. Now you can make these by hand using a bowl and a spoon or a spatula, a little rubber spatula, silicone spatula I guess you'd call it, or you can use a hand mixer. I will be using my stand mixer with my beater attachment. I'm going to go ahead and get that attached here. You will also need 1 egg. I personally like to collect my farm fresh eggs for my chickens daily. They are so delicious. And as you see, it's a little brown egg. I've got some Easter eggers. I get brown, white, and green eggs daily. You will also need butter. We will not be using both sticks. We'll be using 1 stick and a half of a stick. That will equal up to 3/4 cups of butter. You will need sugar, vanilla extract, flour, salt, baking powder, and baking soda. Now, I do want to remind you that although I'm going over the ingredients, and I do have them listed above, I will also have them listed in the description below as well. So let's go ahead and get started here today. I'm going to pull my bowl over, and we're just going to start by adding our butter. And I'm just going to get me a butter knife to cut my butter. Give me just 1 second. Well, here we go. We're just going to use a regular knife instead. So once you get your butter, that will be 1 1/2 sticks of butter or 3/4 cup of butter added to your bowl. We will also be adding a few other ingredients. As you can see, my butter is softened a little bit, which is fine. You can soften your butter or you can use it cold straight out of the fridge. I usually use my butter straight out of the fridge. This was just sitting out for a few minutes while I had gathered everything else, so it got a little soft. Try my best not to touch the butter there. Alright, there we go. And we'll go ahead and add our sugar. So we've got our butter added, and we're going to add our sugar in. So that will be 1 1/4 cup of sugar that will be added here. And, I do have my sugar in a seal tight container, but I also have it in a little bag in here as well. Wipe my measuring cup back out. It had a little water in it still. So there's 1 cup of sugar. And then we need our 1/4 cup, which is this one. Alright, so we've got 1 1/4 cup of sugar and 1 1/2 sticks of butter, or 3/4 cup of butter. We're just going to add that onto our mixer here, lower our mixer, and we're just going to mix our ingredients on a low speed until our butter and sugar is at a creamy consistency. So we're just going to let that mix for a few minutes until it's creamy. Alright, that looks about creamy and about perfect there. And just get it off the beater here and I'll show y'all. Alright, let's see, it's just all mixed in together and creamy. Alright, I've dropped a little bit, let's throw that away. Alright, now you'll want to add your egg. So we're adding 1 egg. And you'll also want to add your vanilla extract. We'll be adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You can use your measuring spoon, or you can use the cap of your vanilla extract, because this does equal 1 teaspoon as well. So we'll be adding 2 capfuls, or 2 teaspoons. That's 1. Uh-oh. That is barely any in that one. Let me go ahead and grab my new vanilla extract up here. So we've got 1 and maybe a drop. Let's see if we can't get this up in here. There we go. So there's 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And you'll just want to mix the egg and vanilla extract in with your butter and sugar until it's fully incorporated. So again, I'm just going to turn my mixer on a 1 and let that mix in until it's all fully incorporated. And while we wait for our ingredients to mix, I'd like to know, what is your favorite kind of cookie to make, or maybe your favorite kind of cookie to eat? Leave a comment down below and let us know. Also, if you don't mind, to like, share, and subscribe to us, we would appreciate it. And again, we will be trying to download at least 1 to 2 videos a week. Oh yes, that looks perfect. Let me just get our beater cleaned back off so we don't have any drips while the bowl's removed. Alright, and as you can see, our sugar, butter, egg, and vanilla extract is all incorporated together. So now we will start with adding the rest of our dry ingredients. We will start with our flour. We will be adding 2.5 cups of flour. That is all-purpose flour. Now, all of my videos, all my recipes do call for all-purpose flour. So there's 1. 2. Let me get my 1/2 cup here. Alright, and we have our 1/2 cup. Alright, and a 1/2. Now you'll also want to add in your salt. That will be a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Let's go ahead and get our 1/2 teaspoon here. Oh. Yes. Alright, our 1/2 teaspoon. We'll be adding 1/2. And then you will need some baking powder. We will be adding in 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. 1/2. Alright, and for our last ingredient, we will be adding in some baking soda. And again, that will be 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda as well. Just get our baking soda here. Here's 1/2. Alright, and then you'll want to mix all of these dry ingredients back in to your wet ingredients. So I'm just going to add that back. Alright, and you can mix this on a medium speed if you're using a stand mixer or a hand mixer. If you're mixing this by hand, you do want to mix the ingredients until they're just combined. You do not want them to be combined too much, but you want them fully combined. And if you're mixing it with your stand mixer, you do want to make sure it's getting all of the flour off the sides as well. And mixing it by hand or with a hand mixer, you want to make sure you're scraping the sides down also. And that is looking perfect. Alright, while that mixes, I'm going to grab my sheet right fast for my cookies to go on, and I'll be right back. Alright, now that our cookie dough is completely mixed, we're going to go ahead and raise our top here. Get my spatula. I'm just knocking down all of my cookie dough off of my beater. See there. I don't know if y'all can hear the rain in the background, but it sounds so peaceful and relaxing. It's raining pretty good here today. Alright. There we go. Just going to push my mixer to the side. And as you can see, all of our cookie dough has been combined. I'm just pushing it together the rest of the way. Like kind of balling it up in a ball. Now you can go ahead and add this cookie dough, these cookies, to a baking sheet and cook them in the oven right away if you'd like. If you do, that is 350 for 15 minutes. I personally like to put my cookies on a sheet, cutting board or baking sheet, etc., and cover them up really good with a saran wrap and let them sit in the freezer for at least 12 to 24 hours. I have found that it keeps them from falling flat. It helps them keep their shape when they've been baked, and it also helps lock in the taste, in my opinion. So I'm going to just go ahead and wipe my sheet back off. And I also have a cookie scoop. You can pick up a cookie scoop at your local Walmart or any store that carries baking or cooking supplies. I got this one at Hobby Lobby. It was like $5, I think. Well, anyways, you can also use a spoon or your hands. I'm just going to dip my cookies here out on my sheet like so. Kind of looks like scoops of ice cream on there. Let's see. See? They look like little scoops of ice cream. They look so cute. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish getting the rest of these dipped. And these do make a good bit of cookies. This recipe does. Just trying to make sure all the cookie dough is laid over so it's not all puffy on the bottom. And you can add sprinkles to these cookies if you want. Like into the batter. If you want to. That is all completely up to you. My thing got stuck there. I was having to thick. So that's one aggravating thing about these cookie scoops. The little lever thing that pushes the cookie dough back around, that thing, it likes to get stuck sometimes on the cookie dough and hang up. Let's see here, just get the rest of that cookie dough off of my spatula. Make these for any occasion, just because you want a nice treat, nice little treat at home, or you're having an event, or maybe your kids are wanting a cookie, or having friends over, or after school snack. We make these for a midnight snack in our house. We like to have cookies when we wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, or a little sweet treat. Especially my husband. He will eat every cookie that you have in the fridge if you let him. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting the rest of these cookies scooped, and I'll be back.